All right. Day 3 on the 30-day challenge. I'm doing something a little different here. I'm in a car. Ooh, exciting. Just came back from watching a movie. Dad's Home Number 2. I don't know. It was kind of funny. But I'm doing something a little different here. I'm gonna, I don't know, just talk about what just happened. I think I spend a lot of time reminiscing, which is not bad. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with diving into your past and enjoying all the things that you went through and reliving them. But there is something to be said for living in the moment. And I don't think I'm as scared of that as I used to be. But I will admit, I think it's a little bit more scary than reminiscing. Because the moment, you don't have much control over that. You don't have the same ability to remember, rehearse, repackage what happened many times before or in the past, where you remembered a certain way and it's safe to share. Right now, I could completely blank. I could have absolutely nothing to say. It's been a very long day, and I'm kind of at that point anyways. There is not a lot to say. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have gone to see this movie with a really good friend of mine. His name is Doug. And this man and I were part of a band of brothers called Vintage. For 3 years, we played cover songs as well as created originals together. And in many ways, this man saved my soul. In many ways. And I'm very grateful to know him. I was not very confident by the time I met him. As a matter of fact, I got off the drugs 6 months into getting to know him. And so by the time I met him, I'd already been on them for about 26 years. So I'm kind of want to continue from this linear trajectory of, okay, all the stuff that happened in Miami, Florida, exhaust the heck out of that, right? And then move linearly to the next place I was living at. But for the moment, I'll just go ahead and do this whole, flashback thing, this Quentin Tarantino flashback thing, right? So Doug, I met him through a Craigslist ad. Him and his brothers were looking for a lead vocalist, and I had really wanted to sing all my life. I had really wanted to be on stage. And after some of the things I shared with you before about the crazy things that Ricky and I did together, the need to express and be witnessed expressing, with Roboto or any of the crazy, painful booby traps that we set up. It was all about trying to express yourself and to have that expression be validated by someone. Well, this man, Doug, put out a Craigslist ad, and I'm glad I answered it. We only spent 3 years together, but they were the most magical 3 years I have, I think, ever experienced. More good stuff to come. I'm sure, I'm not saying that was the best that ever could have been and that's the end. But looking back at all the things that we were able to do, we played out at so many local pubs here in Dayton. We went to X Factor. Got to round 3. We almost got to the round where we would actually be scolded by Simon Cowell. We were on Fox 19. Got a lot of publicity around that. And we wrote 10, 10 original songs, 8 of which were ready enough to go and get recorded. And we were going to make our first album together. So it was Doug, his brother Mike, and his brother Steve, and we had different bass players all throughout, so it'd be very difficult. It was like 7 different bass players. We kept losing these guys. We always had to put out a new ad for the new bass player. But we went to the International College of Broadcasting here in Dayton, and we recorded 5 of our originals. And we're about to try to finesse them a little more and get them more production worthy so that we could, have our first paid for music out there. Paid for. As if the money is what makes the music worthy of being listened to. It's like that's the validation point. Yeah, you can make music all you want, but are you getting paid for it? And then when you're getting paid for it, are you getting paid enough so that you can continue doing the music? Very difficult concept. But I think I'm breaking down the barriers with a lot of help from people I've recently and very gratefully met this year. Fearless Speaker Academy. A little shout out there to you guys. Thank you for showing me the way. I've met a lot of people that have had a huge impact on my life over the years. And I think that's what I'm doing now, is choosing to thank those people. It'd be too many people to go into non-superficially in one 30-day challenge episode. But that might be something I spend more time writing about and speaking about. I remember many, many moments in the garage over at Mike's. That's Doug's brother, one of Doug's brothers. And, we every Monday get together for like 3 hours and practice. And after about maybe the first 7 or 8 months, we started to get a groove together and we got to understand each other's moves. We were able to communicate better without needing to use words. Body language is being understood. And right around that point, something very bizarre happened and we just started jamming. We didn't really rehearse. I mean, we rehearsed cover songs, but originals, we just started jamming and things just started, creation started spontaneously combusting and then hanging around, not just combust and burn up. I mean, we had this beautiful flame of creation just hanging in the balance for as long as we wanted to lob that beach ball up and keep bouncing it around over our heads. Metaphorically, we didn't use beach balls to make music. But it was a really cool feeling. I remember I'd be sitting on this cold floor in the garage, and I'd hear, usually Doug would be the one to start a melody. He practiced a lot of melodies when he was on his own time, and he'd come into the garage when we're doing our rehearsal, our practice, our band get-together. And every once in a while, in between a cover song, he'd just start jamming, riffing off of his own incarnation from earlier when he was without us. And a lot of them would get to me. Like, I would instantly hear something that intrigued me, and I would just start riffing over top of that with vocals. There were so many songs that were created that way. So many unfinished songs for sure, but we actually had, like I said, about 10 solid songs that came out of that. Like he would start off with something very soft, just very acoustic. And I would lay over some vocals in between the spaces where his strings weren't there. And then he would notice me doing that. And so he would accentuate more on the parts where I wasn't singing. And then sometimes we'd mix it up and bring the vocals and the strings together. But it was a dialogue. I really appreciate having had that dialogue. I wasn't talking to him, he wasn't talking to me, but our instruments were talking to each other and creating something that then we both were listening to. It was really weird. You know, I remember hearing a lot of artists over the years talk about how when they get together and they make music, it's this magical thing. They have no idea what's going to happen. And I remember thinking, oh, that's bullshit. It's like, you get to afford to talk like that, all artsy-fartsy, and yeah, wow the crowds, and you're just, you're trying to sound important, or you're trying to sound like you're such a magical being, right? But it's true. When you're with people you trust, and you trust yourself to let go, magical things get created. And it's not you trying to have this sense of allure about you or this mystique. You're allured to it. You're mystified by it, but you aren't those things yourself. It becomes not about you, but about what relationship got formed in between those people. It's ad-libbing at its finest. It's improv without the need to be funny. It's peace. So I often think about that when things are really painful in life. I love God, and there's a lot of things that I've been through that I'm not happy about. But there's one thing there's many things that I thank God about, but one thing in specific is having had those 3 years with the band. Because that can't be taken away. Those happened. Yeah, it sucks when things end. You can feel sad, you can beat yourself up, you can claim that you expected it to always end because bad things always seem to happen to you, and that's just the way of life. Or you can just feel into the memory and be so ever grateful that you got to partake in that you got to hear an audience excited to hear you, that you got to laugh with people who you never knew, but you made their day that much more special because you gave them an opportunity to get together with their friends and listen to music that they liked, that you played. That you created this space, this safety, for people to remember what it's like to be younger. These are some of the things I heard when I would play with the band and we would go to some pubs, specifically Beef O'Brady's. There are a couple of really cool nights there. And it's a great feeling to know that you can do that for others. Create a space where the barriers come down. You can stop being an adult for a little bit, and you can remember what it's like to not worry about what people are going to think about you. You're just going to go out there and dance. We're all relaxed and enjoying the moment. Yeah, there's a lot that I'll probably write about that. The walls that we build as we get older, because now we're tougher and we can build those walls with more materials, and we have the know-how to make the alloys and to fabricate all these wonderful defense mechanisms that make us seem so unstoppable, and yet we are crumbling inside as we build those damn walls. Fear of the unknown, which is, I think, what I started with when I started recording just now. How it feels safer to reminisce and speak about the past instead of living in the moment, because there's no fear there. You know what happened. There's no unknowns, unless you've forgotten. But the moment, the future, every decision you make right now is creating those two. That's scary. It can be scary. Especially if you surround yourself with people who remind you of that. So are you in a quagmire where you're surrounded by people who remind you about being an adult? Are you in a social trap where, and I'm asking me this, yeah, I'm looking at you, but I'm asking me this, so don't get any funny ideas. I ain't talking down to you. I'm looking inside right now. Social traps and expectations of what's tried and true, where you should be spending your time, what makes a buck, what provides value for others, that it can't ever be something that provides value for you, because that's selfish and that doesn't help other people. And yet, the most helpful I remember being for others is when I've helped myself so much more beforehand, and they could see how happy and excited I was to be around them and having the energy to listen to them. It takes energy to listen to you. It takes energy for you to be listening to me. We're on minute 16. Yes, I'm almost done. I have to just top yesterday, which is about 17 minutes. But how can you have energy to give others, to listen to others, to help others, if you don't give yourself energy first? And yet I know so many people that are so miserable in the jobs that they're in, that they've spent their lives creating this problem for themselves because society has been fickle enough to suggest this is where your time needs to be spent. And these are the things you need to study. And these are the things that are going to build a better city. And when you die, we'll make a wonderful tombstone for you and put you at the center. So work really hard and get to that finish line so we can go ahead and bury you. I found, as I was thinking about these last 2 episodes that I made, that not that there wasn't authenticity. I wasn't sure how to say this because I was like, this is going on YouTube, so I don't really want to say anything unless I'm completely certain about what I'm going to say, right? But there's a fabrication within me that needs to find humor, that, dare I say, hide behind it, maybe. Like I said, I've had a lot of pain in my life, but so have you. So have all of us. And I think with my pain, I choose to reminisce, as well as create today and tomorrow, sure, but reminisce so that I could hide my pain in that. The reminiscing part's fun. The laughter, all the stupid things that I've survived, that's fun. If I can make you laugh at some of the stupid things I've done, that's fun. And then I can forget about how miserable I really am. For a moment, anyways. But whose fault is that? I've made my choices. I've put my hand on many a red-hot stove. Non-naively, after having been told it's red, it's hot. I've touched it before and you probably don't want to. And I said, yeah, you know what? Don't believe you, or I don't care. I'm going to be belligerent and I'm going to touch the stove. I'm going to spite you. Didn't say all those words exactly, but the emotion and the motivation behind my rejection of the advice was definitely along those lines. And so I guess if any of tonight was of any interest to you at all, I will say the most important thing I want you to take away from what I'm saying is burn yourself on your own damn stuff. No, don't do that. Listen to advice. If you're a proud person, listen even harder. If it's difficult, you don't have to admit that you're listening. Just listen. People have been through things before you. Seek counsel, especially if you're interested in going in a certain direction that is uncertain to you. Learn from others. Get yourself a mentor. And they don't have to even know that they're mentoring you. If it's really hard for you to swallow your pride and get some kind of education in whatever you're interested in, you don't have to admit to it. Just spend time observing others and learning from people you admire. At some point, hopefully, if you get to the point where you become as good at whatever it is that you're admiring them for, you might also learn some humility as well. And wouldn't that be an awesome combo? Then you could be mentored without doing it in the shadows. You could actually have your mentor enjoy knowing they're helping you. Now, I will say be careful of other proud people, because nothing sucks worse than being a proud person getting mentored by another proud person. So if you're already a proud person and you have difficulty with this, make sure your mentor is extremely humble so you can learn that before whatever craft you're trying to understand from them. It'll make a huge difference in your life. All right, minute 21. I'm done. And just to prove that I'm not going to end with anything funny, because I don't want to hide behind my humor anymore. So, good night.